So in this episode, Moist Vessel, the Cerritos meets up with its sister ship, the USS Merced, to check out a generational ship that didn't reach its destination. A generation ship is a ship that takes more than one generation to reach its destination. These are typically ships that don't have warp capability and take maybe hundreds of years to get where they're going, so they are built for people to spend their whole lives on and raise their kids on, so the kids can take over operations and keep the ship running after the original crew dies. The crew of this ship are in disabled cryo units, and they carry a cargo that is like the Genesis device in Star Trek II, in that it creates life from inorganic material. The captain of the Merced is Captain Durango, a Tellarite. I really like how this Tellarite is drawn because he looks so much like the original series Tellarites. He doesn't have huge, silly-looking tusks like the Tellarites in Discovery and Picard. Mariner is in the briefing room while Captain Freeman and Captain Durango are explaining that the mission is to preserve the generation ship, and she's distributing pads to everyone and yawning because she's bored. Freeman yells at her for making her look like she doesn't have the respect of her crew. Commander Ransom suggests that Freeman assign Mariner to all the worst jobs so that she requests a transfer off of the Cerritos and she doesn't have to deal with Mariner anymore. Ensign Tendi is excited about the fact that she gets to watch an ascension, which is apparently when a person meditates enough that they become a non-corporeal being. I thought this bit was very silly. I always roll my eyes whenever Star Trek tries to incorporate woo, even when it's for comedic effect, as it is in this case. Although Tendi says that this is achieved specifically through alien meditation. Tendi completely messes up the ascension when she tries to check out the guy's gong and trips over and destroys his sand mandala. She tries to fix it and asks the replicator for colorful sand, room temperature, which I thought was kind of funny because if you want something to be room temperature, shouldn't that be the default? It seems weird that you would have to specify that, especially with something inedible like sand. Although I guess now that I think about it, it's kind of weird that you would have to specify that you want your Earl Grey tea hot. Hot should also be the default for tea. Mariner gets assigned to cleaning waste out of the holodeck waste removal system, which is interesting because how would waste end up on the holodeck? If someone uses the bathroom on the holodeck, is that where it goes? She then has to lube the turbo lift, which looks dangerous because people are still using it while she's trying to work. Then she's cleaning carbon off of the carbon filters with her phaser, but she makes a game of it so she doesn't seem to mind. The Cerritos and the Merced sink their tractor beams to tow the generation ship, and Rutherford is having a good time monitoring the tractor beam power levels. Ensign Tendi tries to make it up to the Ascension guy by bringing him a metronome to meditate to, but he's unimpressed. Ransom unhappily reports that Mariner is having a great time with her new tasks, and Captain Freeman suggests giving her more unpleasant ones. But Ransom says he has her cleaning bleep out of the holodeck's bleep filter. At first I thought maybe people were going to the bathroom on the holodeck, but then I tried to read Ransom's lips when what he said was being bleeped, and it doesn't look like he's talking about anything bathroom related. Freeman asks if people really use it for that, and Ransom explains that this is what people mostly use it for. I thought it was really funny when Ransom leans his arm on his knee, then starts flexing and admiring his muscles. Captain Freeman realizes that the best way to get Mariner to hate her assignments is to promote her and give her jobs that require her to attend boring meetings. She's made a lieutenant, skipping the lieutenant junior grade rank for some reason, and given a yellow uniform for some reason. This is very upsetting for Boimler to see. He's disappointed that he hasn't been promoted. Mariner then has to sit through a meeting about what kind of meeting room chairs they should have. She's also given her own quarters so she doesn't have to sleep in the bunks with the other ensigns, but she doesn't like that either. Her managerial training for some reason involves having to listen to her mom sing jazz scat, which she also hates. And Lieutenant Winger Binkston Jr. does a one-man show. And Mariner has to play poker with the other executive officers. Boimler is jealous of the fact that Mariner gets her own quarters, even though Mariner hates it because she's so far away from everyone. Boimler then gets it into his head that they like it when you break rules and that this is how you get promoted. Tendi uses her vacation time to focus on trying to help Ascension guy, which he does not appreciate. Ensign Boimler is asked to report for bridge duty, and he says to himself that they'll get exactly what they deserve, which the person calling him to duty overhears, so he's like, I'm on the holodeck, that was Moriarty. That makes me wonder if holodeck Moriarty is still self-aware. I guess he probably is, in that simulation box they put him in. Captain Freeman tells Mariner that she has to sit through Ransom's performance of songs he wrote himself, which are all about the month he lived in Barcelona. I guess the joke is that even though that's how it's actually pronounced by people who live in Barcelona, English-speaking people only pronounce it that way to sound pretentiously highfalutin. Captain Durango decides to maneuver the Merced closer to the generation generation ship, resulting in the tractor beam damaging the ship's hull. I guess Durango did this because he thought Freeman wasn't competent enough to be respected. Anyway, the damage to the generation ship's hull releases the stuff that turns inorganic matter into life forms. It gets onto the Merced and starts terraforming that ship and is being funneled toward the Cerritos through their tractor beam. It starts to damage the Cerritos' hull, and this is the moment Boimler decides to be a jerk and spill coffee on Commander Ransom's crotch, which does not endear him to the executive officers as he believed it would. Engineering gets filled with water and coral, and Ensign Tendi confesses that the reason she's been so focused on helping Ascension Guy ascend is because she hates it when someone doesn't like her. Then he confesses that he was never really going to ascend because he was faking it the whole time. Ascension Guy just did it so he would stand out as being the Ascension Guy, and used Tendi as an excuse for why he hadn't ascended. This makes the two of them best friends. Mariner and Freeman are tunneling through some dirt, and Freeman is trying to micromanage what kind of rock she uses to tunnel. Mariner calls her out for trying to manipulate her into quitting. Ascension Guy saves Tendi from getting crushed by a boulder, but then he gets crushed by the boulder and Tendi is sad. Mariner figures out a way to flood the ship with a gas that dissolves all of the artificially created organic matter, saving the ship and also Ascension Guy. Ascension Guy then starts ascending because he sacrificed himself to save Tendi. He discovers that the universe is balanced on the back of a giant koala. Is that canon now? Is it officially the case that the Star Trek universe is balanced on the back of a giant koala? This all seems like a very unpleasant process, so Tendi is sorry she helped. Freeman and Mariner beam the crew of the Merced onto the generation ship to save them from the terraforming fluid. An admiral comes aboard to give them medals and said there's something weird on their sensors. Mariner gets busted back down to ensign for making fun of how the admiral says sensors. Boimler is upset about the fact that she doesn't care that she got demoted. He forgives her though because she stole the replicator program for the good recipes.